Hi and welcome to today's Time to Grow. Today I want to tell you about my mother. My mother sadly passed away just over 6 years ago now. I had the best mum in the world and I'm sure you do too. My mother was the most lovely, loving, generous, warm-hearted person that it's ever been my privilege to know and love. And she passed away after a long illness with cancer. And she lived a pretty ordinary life by all accounts. She worked as a secretary, she worked in the local post office, she had small jobs, but she was a great mother to me. But the other thing about her is she absolutely loved people, hated injustice, loved people. And I remember a few days after she died, I walked into her house, and it was the house that I'd grown up in since the age of 3. And it was always her pride and joy. It was always more of a home than a house. It always had a lovely warm feeling, and there was always lots of fun there. And she kept it really beautifully, but it was always a home rather than just a house. And I remember distinctly walking in there when it was empty and my mother had departed, and there was just a really eerie chill about it. And it was just nothing like the house that I remembered. It was almost as though her spirit had left it. And I remember thinking at the time that this is what she'd worked for, I guess, all her life, to keep the house together and to make the house as nice as possible. But at the end of the day, it meant nothing, because without her, it wasn't a home. What really mattered about my mother, and this was illustrated at a funeral, was a warmth and generosity. And I'll never forget the day of a funeral. It was such a bittersweet occasion. It was so sad to eventually say goodbye to Mum. But it was such a celebration of her life. I had the privilege of doing her eulogy, which was tough, but I managed to hold myself together to do it. But the point I want to make was that it was a largish church, and it was standing room only. There were people hanging from the rafters who'd come to pay their respects to this lovely woman who'd made such a positive difference to so many people in her community. My mother actually died only about half a mile from where she was born. She never moved out of the locality, out of the community. She always stayed where she was born. And she touched so many lives. She really did. She touched so many lives, young and old alike. She loved kids, but she loved people as well. So my message to you today is, how many lives are you going to positively touch in this coming 24 hours? What can you do to make people remember your presence, to appreciate what you do for them, what you say to them, and to feel better as a result of coming into contact with you? Just go and spend the next 2 or 3 minutes now and commit to positively touching the lives of as many people as you can. It'll make a big difference to you, I promise you.